How did you get the point? Yeah, the following is enacted.
It's a reaction, as I said this morning, by a band of thugs and hooligans who just do not want to live to a civilized system.
When you sort of allied the unrest with all the social conditions of unemployment and poor education, poor housing and so on, that's okay on the one hand, but at the end of the day, black people have always experienced that. And that's something which has never ever been taken into account as far as those rights were concerned.
I asked one day why I hadn't got a particular job I'd applied for, and she said, well, off the record, it's where you're living.
They sent 3 of us for a job, and I got the start, and as I was leaving, there was another person coming in for an interview for the job. By the time I'd gone, I went home, I had something to eat, because it wasn't far from where I lived. I went home, got something to eat, went back to the Dole to report I got the job, and they told me I hadn't got it. They were already full up. But the person who went in after me, I found out afterwards that they got the job.
And was that person white?
That person was white, yeah.
All we've got to do is look back in our own childhood, seeing what jobs our parents done. And you see that our parents done dead-end jobs, and it's very hard for them to find work. And when they did find work, they were the first out, even though they might have been the first ones in. White people were kept on more.
From the point of view of 1919 up to 48, up to 72 and 81, if you want to take those 4 periods into account, are basically the periods where black people, right, or that particular period, where have always been powerless, and the police have always been in that position of authority. Moving on to 1948 now, in terms of the riots which took place then.
What instigated the riots is white aggression and oppression, and people must retaliate, each man to defend his own at all costs. It is only the same thing that occurred in 1919 in the same Liverpool in the south side of the city. They're both relatively the same.
Just all moved in from all directions, didn't you? With the big truncheons and the shields, yeah. Just moved in, they're asking for it, aren't they? The law are against us, the skinheads are against us, we can't win, can we?
I would say that the ferocity came because after years of suppression, the lid had blown. But it had accumulated, and I'm on record years before warning there will be civil war in the streets of Granby. But nobody would ever listen until the explosion.
We had nothing to lose, to be truthful. The majority of us were unemployed. We had no way out. We identified the police as the enemy. They was there, they was attacking us, they was chanting wog, 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 and nigger, 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 nigger on the shields. They was identified as the enemy in that particular situation. It was really, to speak about it now cannot convey the fear and the anger that people felt at that time.
We saw after 1981 very clearly that there was no way in which black people were going to be invisible, in which we were going to disappear. Come what may, we were here to stay. And the state, both local and national, had to accommodate that fact. And in its way, it did. And we haven't, as a community, since that time, witnessed the sort of denial of our existence that occurred prior to that.
We are a strong community. This is a very, very strong community.
Liverpool have always had a problem with racism, and they've laid that problem quite squarely on the backs of black people. black people have gotten together and are saying to the institutions, to Liverpool, we have a right to be here, we have a right to change on our terms as black people and not on white people's terms, which is always, you know, we're anti-racist as long as it doesn't affect us. This issue of racism affects us as black people every day. It's something that has affected us in the past and will affect our children in the future. We have to fight on.